Hello, everybody. My name is Zach Waldron. Today, I'm going to be talking about GIS, or Geographic Information Systems, um, and the annual meeting of the American Association of Geographers. Again, my name is Zach, and this is for Joby Bass's um, Contemporary Issues in Geography class. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what we will be talking about today. So first of all, we have two different subjects, GIS and the AAG meeting. So first, we'll be talking about GIS. I'm gonna briefly define it, give a little history about it, some of its applications, which you can use it for, and different jobs associated with it. And then we'll talk about the American Association of Geographers (AAG), their annual meeting, when and where it is, and what you can gain out of it. Okay, first of all, let's talk about GIS. So before we get to talking about GIS, I want to formally define it. This was taken straight from ESRI's website. So GIS is a noun. It's a technology that is used to create, manage, analyze, and map different types of data. Um, and GIS connects data to a map, integrating location data or spatial data, or where things are in the world, with all types of descriptive information, like what things are like at a certain place. This provides a foundation for mapping and analysis that is used in science in almost every single industry. GIS helps users understand patterns, relationships, and geographic contexts. The benefits include improved communication, efficiency, management, and decision making. When we get to modern GIS, I want to talk a little bit about some ancient maps that led us to what we know as GIS and modern mapping. So the map up there in the top corner, is the Imago Mundi, which is one of the earliest maps known. It predicted Babylon and where Babylon saw itself in the world at the time with its nearby neighbors. Um, and the circle around the outside they called the Bitter River, and it's just the ocean. It's where the land stopped. Another cool map, historical map, is Ptolemy's map down in the bottom corner from his book Geographia, which has been lost in time. Um, it's a pretty accurate map. It's a reproduction, but uh, it got it pretty accurate. And of course, as people sailed and explorers explored and got more knowledge or data, these maps got more and more accurate. A little closer to modern time, we have John Snow's cholera map. Um, it's one of the earliest maps that uses spatial analysis. So there was an outbreak of cholera in London in 1854. They thought it was airborne, and John Snow was able to figure out that it was waterborne by mapping and showing that there was a cluster of cholera cases around Broad Street, which is in the center of the map, kind of upper center. Um, and it was linked to a water pump where people were getting their water, fresh water. Him and his folks went in, took the pump off the water, and the cholera stopped. If you've taken Dr. Raver's class, he talks about this on his first day. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about the early developments of GIS. Um, so GIS came about in the 1960s when computers started getting uh, more and more technologically useful. Um, and IBM had a major role in that, and in some of the first cases of GIS. The first time GIS was coined was by Roger Tomlinson with the Canadian Geographic Information System. Um, he was in charge of the Canadian Geographic Information System, and was tasked with cataloging Canada's natural resources. And so he is considered the father of GIS, since he coined that term. in the mid-60s, Howard Fisher developed a lab at Harvard um, that started developing some of the early GIS software and tools that use vector data to make maps. Um, and I believe the first software was called that SciMaps, Sinographic Mapping System. And that's actually, this picture here is some samples out of it, some different things that they could do with it. And I believe they fed the data in through punch cards at the time, which is pretty cool. A little different from today. They later released more advanced, technologically advanced software called Odyssey. A couple years down the line, a guy named Ian McHarg published a book called Design with Nature that was all about urban planning and the human-environment relationship when making planning decisions. And he described a layer cake approach to studying this subject. It's essentially where we get GIS layers from. It's kind of neat. The same year, Jack and Laura Dangermond created Esri from inspiration from that very book. And I'm sure we all know Esri today. A little later on the timeline, the first Landsat satellite tasked with taking pictures of Earth was launched into orbit. And a couple years later, 6 years later, we launched the first GPS satellite, the Navstar 1. And we didn't get full global coverage for nearly 30, a little less than 30 years later, which is pretty interesting. It's a long time. Technology takes time, though, I guess. In 1982, Esri released ArcInfo, and it was the first commercially available GIS software out there that looked at spatial analysis from Landsat and different database tools. And Scott Morehouse was a major player in that, who worked in the Harvard lab with Howard Fisher on the Odyssey. So he had a big hand in that. All right, so moving along our little GIS timeline here. I threw this one in just because I thought it was cool. The first car that had in-car navigation, GPS, was the Mazda Unos Cosmo, and that's actually a picture of it off to the side there, which I think is pretty cool and pretty advanced for the time. Although I can't really speak to probably how accurate or reliable it was. Anyways, in 1990, the U.S. Census Bureau completed their topologically integrated geographic encoding and referencing database, also known as TIGER, that was the first digital maps of different roads, boundaries, all the way down, from our country's boundaries to our states to counties, even down to what the Census Bureau uses, the census tracts and blocks. A big milestone for GIS was in 2001 when it reached 1 million people. There's 1 million license certificates out there, and it was used by about 100,000 different organizations. Another year later, QGIS was released, which is free open source GIS software similar to ArcGIS, which a ton of people still use today. 3 years after that, Google Maps was created after they bought, or I guess they invented it off of Google Earth, which was acquired from Keyhole Incorporation just a year prior. And I can remember when Google Google Earth first came about. I spent hours on that, hours and hours on that, playing around, and it was so neat at the time. It was really unique, technologically advanced, um, and really slow. um, and of course, today we have GIS as we know it, in hundreds of different forms, and it's accessible to just about anybody with a cell phone now. All right, so let's talk about a couple applications for GIS. You can use it for environmental management, looking at deforestation, habitat loss, flood zones, pollution sources, etc. Urban planning, regional planning. This helps planners forecast land use, population growth, map transportation and infrastructure. It's a lot that planners do. Um, Emergency management can assist with the disaster preparedness, response, evacuation routes, and flood zones. This is actually a map here of FEMA's National Flood Hazard Layer. That's my house right there in the middle. I'm in Flood Zone X, uh, which is, I think, the 500-year flood. Um, but yeah, that I believe the FEMA's flood maps kind of tie into all three of these points. GIS can also be applied to public health, tracking diseases. I'm sure we all remember COVID. This picture here is a graph of number of cases. Can be used in agriculture to monitor crop health, manage irrigation, and apply fertilizers so farmers can make and grow healthy crops. In business and logistics, you know, companies use GIS to locate customers, do analysis on those customers, store site selection for retail stores. One that I'm very familiar with is retail shelf plans. We'll talk about in a couple minutes. Delivery optimization for deliveries to stores or to retail locations, and just general supply chain management. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some careers in GIS that you can use GIS for. Some common job roles in GIS are GIS analysts. They, along with cartographers, make maps that help inform decisions. Basically, you have remote sensing specialists that work with imagery from satellites and drones. And I'll even add active imagery like LiDAR. You have land surveyors that collect data in the field and show where different property lines and different boundaries are. Urban planners, of course, that are in our local communities. And then you have researchers and scientists that apply GIS to their research. And that can be used to study climate health, land use, and so much more. That's my wife right there doing her research for her PhD. All right, some different employers where you can use GIS. Of course, is government, all the way down to small government here locally, or state government, and all the way up to federal level. You use environmental conservation and consultations. My wife is currently doing. You could use GIS and utilities, energy, and just general infrastructure. So like Haley's doing right now in her internship. Healthcare and epidemiology, of course, like John Snow did, which I'm probably sure it's more advanced now. Transportation and logistics, such as shipping or 18-wheeler companies, etc. Private business and retail planning, which is what I have a picture there of off to the right, is what I used to do. This is a planogram. It helps lay out store location of items on store shelves and helps with general traffic flow inside of stores. Um, so the career outlook here from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is not in GIS, but just geography in general, has the median pay at almost $91,000 per year. In 2023, there was 1,600 jobs in the United States, and it's set to grow 3% through the next um, couple of years through 2033. All right, so let's transition to talking about the AAG conference, the annual conference that they have. So it's the largest geography conference in the world, and it brings thousands and thousands of different geographers, GIS users, students, researchers, and educators from all around the world. And you know, it gives people an opportunity to present their research if they're researching anything. Um, get to attend different learning sessions, workshops, and different panels where people talk. Um, and really, I think the best use for the annual conference for people at our level um, will be networking with different people in geography and really getting your name out there, especially if you're trying to look for a job. Um, and that the meeting is held every year in the spring. Um, so 2 years ago it was in Denver. Last year it was in Honolulu, Hawaii, and this past year, just a couple weeks ago, it was in Detroit. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, just reach out. Thanks.